guess it was disingenuous to say that I worked directly to paper with ballpoint pen on that sketchbook draft and the thumbnail drafts. This is actually the secret, dirty little secret that shapes those thumbnails earlier in the morning. So when I wake up, I jot out and scribble these notes. And the drawings and the words are equally illegible, essentially. But I work this way until I feel like I've found about 10 pages of story. And then I draw a more legible version in the course of a day. So with thumbnails, it was always like I wanted 10 pages a day of story. This is really how I'm writing. This is probably the more pure form of how I write. And it's probably more similar to how most cartoonists work. For most cartoonists, I think this is enough of a thumbnail. And maybe I'll do this in the future. But again, the reason I make it more detailed, partly because I just kind of get consumed by the sort of sensuality of getting lost in drawing. But also I want it to be this format, my draft, that other people can read and give me editorial feedback on. And I wouldn't want to give anybody this kind of horrible mess. So a couple pages of that. And now I think this is the fun part. But it could also be the redundant part for people who have seen some of these images on my website. I've collected a few graphics of like walking through a single page. So this is that first sketchbook draft that I started way back in January 2004. And then the redraw of it in the thumbnails. And these thumbnails are much looser, partly because I've already drawn it once, so I don't need the same detail. That's the beginning of the pencils on the page, and then more obsessive detail starts filling in the negative space. And that was an almost unavoidable element of Habibi, is that things became more and more detailed. I mean, my inspiration was all this ornamentation and this geometric design and Islamic arts, which is already dense and swirling and almost psychedelic in its quality. But I think as I got deeper and deeper in the book, it became this sort of OCD madness where I wanted to have that rich, dense, swirling energy happening on every page. With blankets, the intent was for it to be breathable and sparse, just like the Midwestern landscape. But with Habibi, I had different intentions. And I was drawing a lot of influence from these sort of like, this ornamentation, that's my ornamentation in Islamic art. This is a frontispiece from a book that I scanned and then chopped up digitally and then light boxed and traced with my brush onto the page. And so, I was exploiting the computer as this intermediate tool. Like, the final pages are always India ink and brush on paper. It was always important for me that it's an actual tangible work of ink. But I'm not opposed to like using the computer as part of the dirty secret process. This is just another example of a page that the loosest gestures. My pencils start out very scribbly, as you can see. I'm not a clean penciler per se, but I do erase a lot as I refine the details. In the center of the doughless space, you see a dot. That's the compass point poked in the paper. And then I would search around for different ornamentation, scavenging little snippets, and until I settled on one that I liked, and then light boxing that again onto the page and tracing it with a brush, and then filling in a little more detail, and then finally there's the final page. And if you watch Sam's face in the corner, it gets redrawn. And that's sort of the last stage of drawing for me, when I go through a whole book and fix all the ugly drawings. And there's always plenty of them. Or it's just inconsistencies in character drawings, because, when you're drawing 600 pages of something, the characters morph a lot. And it's always faces, I think, that I'm the most unhappy with when I look at them later.